it's your girl Charlotte V. Manor, aka your girl Aquarius, and today I'm on here for a really interesting book review. So I'm gonna have like a lot of notes. I have the book on my phone, Kindle, and I also have the book in front of me on my laptop. So today I'm going to be reviewing The 48 Laws of the Game, Pimpology by Pimp and Karen Hunter, who I think is just like his editor, but I'm not sure. They're both on the title. This is what the book looks like. Pimpology, 48 Laws of the Game. And I'm actually reviewing this book because I found out about the book through a woman named Princella, the Queenmaker, and I decided to read it, and it was very interesting, especially considering that I read books like The 48 Laws of Power anyway, and The Art of Seduction. I know I need to do a review on them, but I really think I should do a voiceover for those. But anyway, straight to the point. Pimpology. What do I think about this book? I think this book is ruthless, it's cutthroat, and it's real. So it's so real that I'm going to read the first chapter, which is Pimps Are Born, Not Sworn, and then I'll get into like the laws and what I think about them. But it starts with there are two categories of people in this world. And disclaimer, I'm not going to spend this whole video calling men and women imps and O's. So what I'm going to do is refer to pimps as woke men, and then the O's is sleeping women or sleepy women. So bear with me because I just don't want to be saying that throughout this whole book review. Now, back to Pimp 101. There are two categories of people in this world, woke men and sleepy women. You either give orders or you take them. You are either the kind of person who will have people working for you, bringing you the money, or you are the kind of person who will work for someone else, hand over your hard-earned dough, and let someone tell you what to do. That's all pimping is. Control, mastering another. This reality may be offensive to some, but it's real. And if you open your eyes to what is truly going on in the world, you will see that everyone falls into one category or the other. So I'm gonna leave it there and then jump into what I thought about the book. I think it shows you another side of life. It shows you that a lot of disenfranchised men are born into a world where there's a lot of scarcity and they have to get it. And the way to get it is through what they consider the sleepy woman. They think she's dumb, okay? She got all this value and she don't know it. And what are the pimps gonna do? They're going to convince the stupid sleeping woman to give her value up and then give the woke man her money. So it is brutal, but it's real because I grew up in poverty, you guys, no shame about it. And I'm pretty sure my cousin was a pimp because he always had like groups of women follow him around, and he would take them all to go get their nails done. And they did call him daddy. So what I think, and they all have family issues, father not in sight, or if he was violent, things like that. So when I read this book, it kind of came full circle. So I'll start with some of the laws, and I feel like I'm just going to break this video up because I can already tell it's going to be long. But law 1 of pimping, purse first, booty later, right? So I noticed pimps are like flipping the game upside down. So they actually do want to practice sexual discipline somewhat, and they actually prefer the woman to really want to get it on. So to me, that's like actually anti-nature, because in every animal kingdom, it's the male that wants to do it. Like, he doesn't even need to be enticed. So this is interesting because pimping straight out the gate is gaslighting women. Yeah, and so it's convincing women who aren't just trying to give up sex. It's convincing them to think that they need to pay the pimp to sleep with him. So it's very interesting. So law number 2 is get a name in the game. That's pretty obvious. If you don't have a name, no one cares about you. I assume it works the same for a pimp, just like it works for everybody else. So law number 3, don't chase them, replace them. The woke man never wants the sleeping woman to know that she has power. You always got to knock her down, because if she even catches a whiff that the ball is in her court, the pimp fears, or he just grows frustrated because she becomes difficult to work with. Because you got to remember, the book's written from a pimp's point of view, which means anything that harms the pimp must die, be abandoned, things like that. So that's why I want to highlight how, if you take a step back, the pimp is just trying to survive, and he will use as many dumb sleeping women as he can. And I just say dumb because if you read the book, the way these sleeping women are described is that they don't know any better, and the pimps have a lot of disdain for them, but it's because they know that the hoe is dumb. She has to listen to them, and they think that if they were a woman, they would not be hurt. So it's very interesting all around. And law 4, keeping a sleeping woman in all areas. I'm actually going to look at that chapter right now because it's in front of me. And this book talks about his life in great detail, but I actually think you should read the book to get those details, because I'm only going to read what is important to this review. So I do encourage people to read it if they want to know deeply what Pimpin' Ken was going through when he was doing this in this phase of his life. But keep a sleeping woman in all areas, a bitch of mine, but a not keep a dime. So that's how the chapter starts off. And let's see, okay. A woke man says he keeps a sleeping woman in the hole because she is responsible. But the real reason is that the more someone depends on you, the more power you have over them. To master someone completely, they have to depend on you for everything. When a pimp gets with a sleeping woman, he tells her to break herself. After that, she will only see money long enough to bring it to him. Because he can only manage the money the sleeping woman makes, a woke man depends on a sleeping woman at least as much as she depends on him. But the key for the woke man is to make that sleeping woman think that she always needs him. He talks a good game, seems wise and knowledgeable, and she wants to believe she needs him to handle things. The better you talk, the more people depend on you. Since hoes like to feel taken care of, they agree to let woke men handle everything. Even if they know deep down they could have the upper hand. Not wanting to take it is what makes a sleeping woman the HO in the first place. It's actually interesting because even though he said keep a sleeping woman in areas, that was mostly about breaking the woman down. So I'm guessing in all areas, make sure they broken down wherever they are. So the next law is pretty obvious. Law 5, prey on the weak. A woke man depends on a sleeping woman as much as a sleeping woman depends on the woke man. But the key is to make the sleeping woman believe that you need me. Okay? So basically this book to me is what life is when you're at base nature. And I do recommend you guys check out my spiritual channel, because I'm going to actually be using this book in a lot of my videos when it comes down to human nature, because I think it pairs well, because this is a Black man's take on the 48 laws of power, and it's based around his life. He doesn't do that anymore. I'm pretty sure he's involved into a businessman now and a writer, and he's a former pimp. So He doesn't live in this world anymore, but he gives advice to people who do live in this world, and you can use this advice to flip it in your real life. Because I may not have been in the game, but I've seen this where I grew up. Because I grew up in a hood, and it was filled with fatherlessness people, right? And even though we had fathers, they weren't there. They were running the streets. They were trying to be pimps, and they were like terrorizing the neighborhood. So I do remember seeing a few pimps in my life. And the thing that stands out to me about these woke men is that they are really powerless if the women wake up. And that's something I noticed with my cousin. He never kept the same woman. There was like never an old sleeping woman in the game. And they talk about that in this book. And the reason that is, for me, is because I do think these woke men drain these sleeping women for everything that they have. And at some point, unless she's gonna die, the woman has to get out. And I think that's why there are no old sleeping women in the game, because they're gonna die. These men are gonna drain the life out of them. The clients come to them to fulfill some urge that they have. And it's interesting, he doesn't really go into what his O's are going through. And that's something that stuck out to me reading this book, because it's all about the woke man, the imp. And it's because from his mindset, these women are dumb. That's literally what I get when I read this book. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do multiple parts of this book, but moving on, prey on the weak, right? And this chapter nearly made me like, I was like, I cannot believe, I mean, I could believe it, you guys, but I'm like, it's a mind wrap for me, because I know people like this. I've seen it, but it's like knowing that they know what they do and they still do it, it boggles my mind. So Law 5, prey on the weak. A bee's weakness is a imp's sweetness. So the life, it usually starts with tears. I will see a sleeping woman crying for seemingly no reason at all, and I seize that moment. Say, BITCH, what's the matter? I asked in my most concerned voice. Game. So I'm realizing that maybe these woke men, they're not like always slapping people upside the head, right? I think at some point they learn to use emotional manipulation. They learn to use psychological warfare, and it's very brutal, because they know these women are messed up, and they don't know why these women are messed up, or if they do know why these women are messed up, they don't think about how this is affecting everybody else. So it's interesting, because let me keep reading so you can see. Nothing, the sleepy woman sniffles. Oh, you know you can tell daddy anything, I say. The story eventually comes out, and he says this like, the story eventually comes out. It usually is a similar story. I was SA as a little girl, violated as a little girl, or I was abused, and I feel really bad about myself. If I see that mofo, I will kill him, I say to her, yawning. Anyway, but how can you feel bad about yourself, I tell her. You are making $200, $300 an hour. No empathy. So right here, he literally is telling the reader that he's faking compassion for the sleeping woman. And the reason I'm pointing that out, because as a woman reader, I'm like, these men are trying to survive. They need these traumatized women to make a living. These traumatized women gonna have to live with this for the rest of their life. The pimp doesn't care about that. So for me, it's interesting, because to me, there's no right and wrong here, right? Because he is gonna die without her or any other girl like her, because no sane woman is falling for this. They're not doing this. No sane woman wants any part of this. So already, these women are collectively taking one for the team. That's why I said at some point you guys have to check out my spiritual channel, Vibes That Heal, because I am gonna go deeper into this, because we live in a patriarchy, which makes honestly a lot of this profitable, because there are a lot of women messed up out here. Because if your father isn't a good father, the system's set up to not care, right? And I'm sure every day people are doing things to combat that, but slowly but surely single motherhood is still high, right? Single fatherhood is slowly growing, but it ain't nowhere near single motherhood. So what I'm saying is, every day people are churning out traumatized women to be spit game at. So let's keep going, because this chapter I was like really paying attention. He butters her up. You have men telling you how beautiful you are. He doesn't recognize that this woman is traumatized. He's just trying to get her to see you make a lot of money. Despite what happened to you as a child, I don't give a damn, because I don't care about you. Oh, anyway, what you need to recognize is you make me a lot of money, okay? Without me, I die. So that's what I'm saying. Pay attention. The O doesn't die without the pimp, okay? Without the O, the pimp will cease to exist. He's saying that he's clearly in some imminent danger that the O can't see. The O can't see it because that's not her problem. So that's what I mean. We really need to help these traumatized women out here, okay? So he tells her, you are good to me, okay? Who cares what was taken from you as a child? Who cares, okay? You're going to end up with furs, diamonds, and even a home. Oh, sorry. So anyway, so he says, and then he kind of skips around, because like you said, he doesn't really care. So let's skip ahead, because he kind of just ignores her trauma. So this is the part where it annoys me. He says, most sleeping women have low self-esteem for a reason. A woke man looks for that weakness, and if it isn't on the surface, he brings that mofo out of them. It doesn't matter to a woke man that a sleeping woman's weaknesses are what they are, so long as they have them. Then he uses those weaknesses to his advantage, because remember, you guys, this is life or death to the pimp. It's life or death for him. He doesn't care about the woman. Weakness is the best trait a person can find in someone they want to control. If you cannot find that weakness, you have to create one. You have to tear someone's ego down to nothing before they will start looking to you for salvation. If you've ever grown up in less than ideal situations, even if it was a poverty, tell me that's not true, because I see people exhibiting this behavior even when they're not in the pimping game. So I do think his wisdom is very much needed. Like, I respect the man who wrote this book. I'm sure his fellow brethren are looking at him crazy. Like, you spilling all of the secrets, and they probably wish they wrote the book first, because if you truly have this mentality that he has, why won't you make money outside of these traumatized women, right? So I have a lot of respect for Pimp and Ken, okay? Especially if you're not in the game anymore and you no longer have to exploit women. You really done made it, and you're probably not afraid of death anymore. So I do think the best pimps evolve, and the pimps who don't evolve, they end up old pimps, and they have to exploit young women who get spit up and chewed out by the patriarchy. So I don't have any respect for like my pimp cousins, because they're probably gonna do it to their old, because they don't know how to evolve. So let's keep going. So after you tear their ego down, then you have a chance to build them back up, showing them that it's your program that takes them from darkness to hope. While you want them to feel good about themselves, eventually you want them to feel that it's because of you. They begin to see you as their champion, their hero, even if the weakness you rescue them from is one you created. And that, my friend, is how people, particularly women, find themselves in abusive relationships, this is actually a tactic I seen a man use on my former best friend. Tore that self-esteem down and then built it back up just to like do things that would have him result in having to tear it back down. Because when he would build her back up and she's like, why are you cheating on me, why are you doing this, and then he had to tear it back down. So he's like, why do you think you're above it? So a lot of these things are stuff abusers will actually use to harm women and vulnerable people like children. So keep that in mind. And it's very unfortunate. A lot of these women have been violated as children. And the fact that men who can't make it in this patriarchy use them to get ahead of them shows you that something is you gotta look at the men who can't survive in this system, because what they do is make everybody else pay. And that's women, children, other young boys. In this book, he gets betrayed by a lot of older pimps because they don't like that these older women, the older hoes, will sometimes abandon them to get with the young man on the rise, which is funny because you hear that all the time, that a woman's worried she's going to be left for a younger woman. Well, isn't it crazy that the woke man is afraid of being left by like younger woke men? It's insane. So very interesting. They want you to feel upset that that can happen, but at the same time, it's like amusing to them on when it's flipped. So clearly ageism exists for both genders, because you have these older women will dip out and go with the younger men, and then guess what? Those younger men be better and they end up taking the spot of the older woke man. So that's interesting. Competition even amongst younger and older men to exploit vulnerable people. So that's something that I noticed as well. And this isn't I'm late, but this isn't gonna be the typical review because I actually want to go through all the laws, because you could read the book to get the stories tied to the laws. So the next law: when pimping begins, friendship ends. And it's funny because I was just talking about that. There's little friendship in the world, and least of all between equals. The pimp game is a lonely one. And this chapter was very interesting to me because, again, it goes back to what I said. Nobody is safe. And I'll read a snippet of that. At 16, I used to roll with this veteran pimp I admired named Aquarius, my zodiac sign. We were really tight. I even gave him one of my gold chains to wear. We would ride around the track. Fast forward. Fast forward, Aquarius lost his sleeping woman to the pimp who wrote this book, and he was not happy. He turned into a hater. As much as they say women can't get along, the pimps are catfighting, girl. They're catfighting over the merchandise that they have to convince is so valueless. It is insanity. Psychological warfare is very real for this book. And let's keep going. Okay, so that taught him something. And again, that was the end of friendship from that point on. This book also has like photos of the like cool people in the book. I'm putting this down because I don't like holding stuff. But they have photos in the book. So if you get the hard copy, that'd be cool. So I probably just go through the chapters faster at this point, because those were like the most interesting ones to me. So Law 7, pimp the game. Law 8, don't let your history be a mystery. Learn the rules. Law 9, who better to teach how to pimp? Who better to teach how to pimp than how? Okay, anyway, who cares? Law 9, learn the rules. Law 10, plan your work and work your plan. Law 11, avoid gorillas and Godzillas. So this one was an interesting law to me because it seemed to talk about how there's inner fighting in the woke men community. So a lot of these pimps hate on each other, but sometimes they will get together to stomp out someone they assume is a simp. So that chapter is pretty funny. Law 11. So apparently there are morals to this game, and if enough woke men find that you are messing it up for all of them, maybe you're hoarding the woman, or you're constantly stealing women from them, or you're just too soft on a woman, or you're too hard on a woman, basically they'll get together and take you out and then go back to fighting amongst each other. So really no different from the woman that they consider dumb, basically, because they're always talking about keep the sleeping woman fighting, conquer and divide, and then here they go. So it's very interesting. They're able to see how dumb these women are for being exploited, but they kind of don't see that they're two sides of the same coin, except I guess when the woman is starting to get some self-esteem, then they start to see it and they have to stomp her back into submission. So that was Law 11. Law 12, ain't no love in this, SHIT. So there was one chapter I remember in this book where I think one pimp was left alone and he looked at his last O, and he had said to her, like, could they like be together? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna leave this life behind me. I'm gonna get married, or I'm gonna go to therapy and heal. And then he's just like, so this is what I mean. I think a lot of these men are like dead inside. They probably killed a lot of people, or a lot of people watched women be violated and not care. Did you get the money? You know, that type of thing. And I think after a while, they say there's no light in the woman's eyes, but I think the woman's just reflecting back to them the lack of life in their own eyes. Because, you know, I gotta bring it there. So I do have to take it spiritual, even though this is just like a book review channel and a chit chat channel. So that's something I noticed, that when it's all said and done, they're very lonely people. And honestly, they don't really see it until they're down to their last sleeping woman, which is funny because the book's constantly saying never get to that point. And I think the reason the book is saying never get to that point is because they look over at the last one and they start to feel like it's the end of the road. So it seems like a lot of this is just fear of death and trying to stall it and stuff like that. And it's just really crazy. And my thing is, if this is the world men live in, no wonder when they like interact with like people who aren't on that frequency, it gets crazy out here in the world. So that's something I'm realizing from this book too. A lot of great tips, but it shows you the depravity of these people. No one can feel bad for the woke man, because from the beginning he lets you know he does not feel bad for the people he exploit. And then he looks at the world and he's like, the world's this cold place. And it's like, dude, every step of the way you stepped over the bodies of vulnerable people, so for money. So just crazy how they're describing this destitute world without love, and then every step of the way they're contributing to this destitute world without love that they say. So, you know, it's crazy. So Law 13, Pimp, and then he dismisses everything from the previous law. So Law number 13, Pimp like you are O-list. There's nothing I have to say about that I haven't already said. We know why. You have to do that. So Law 14, better a turnout than a burnout. You should know what that means. Okay, like I said, they drain the life out of these women. The women want to escape. They do, and they just look at them and scorn. You burn out, get out of here. So there is no love in the game, okay? So Law 15, say what you mean what you say. This one, I like this one. They say honesty is the best policy. That doesn't mean you have to tell the whole truth, but you must always keep it real. With yourself, at least. If no one else, lying shows a lack of character and an inability to face reality. There are better ways to manipulate someone than to lie. So like I said, there are moral codes in here that I'm sure get ignored, because if you guys are exploiting women, no one cares about this code. So they try to establish codes that they lie and betray each other anyway. So, you know, these are men trying to establish a bro code. But if there is no woman code, there will never be a bro code. So anyway, Law 16, give motivation and inspiration. This is a positive law. I don't have anything to say about this law. Law 17, get you a bottom B. I'm going to just leave the video off there, and we'll come back for part 2 because I like these types of books. I'm probably going to do the same thing with my Robert Greene books, the 48 Laws of Power, the Art of Seduction, and my other books. So I hope you guys found this fun and informative, and stay safe out there, because like this book says, there are a lot of people going through things that you may never go through, or if you've gotten away from that and you don't want to go back to, you know, stay prayed up. Check out my spiritual channel, Vibes That Heal. And again, I hope you like this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Again, I'm Charlotte V. Manor, aka Aquarius, and I'll see you for part 2.